Hey, this is HQ, and I'm back at it again. I had to come on here and show you this clip of Pete Hegseth, who had to appear in front of Senator Tammy Duckworth during a Senate Arms Services Committee this week, where he was raked over the coals for using federal troops in Los Angeles, which was the key contention of this committee.
In response to my colleague from Oklahoma, I believe the Secretary of Defense has just responded last week and admitted that the $1 billion mission that he led against the Houthis, who do not have a navy, has not restored the transit of U.S. flag commercial vessels through the Red Sea, and in fact has resulted in the loss of two F-18 Hornets to the tune of $60 million apiece, as well as, I believe the last count was 7 Reaper drones to the tune of another $200 million. You are blowing through money like my fellow cadets and I did in our first Liberty after basic camp. Luckily, I didn't end up with a questionable tattoo.
She reading him the riot act for real, but she reading him the riot act from jump, because they went into a U.S.-led airstrike campaign against the Houthis in Yemen, specifically in March, right? It was an operation which President Trump ordered, and it was overseen by Pete Hegseth. The mission's objective was to halt Houthi attacks on the U.S. and allied ships in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden, thereby restoring freedom of navigation and deterring Iran-backed aggression. It failed, but she's telling him that he lost a lot of equipment, spending a lot of money, and he's not getting success for the things that he is doing. So she's raking him over the coals for that first mission. But this meeting is because of the LA riots. So let's continue.
Your failures, Mr. Secretary, since you've taken office has been staggering. You sent classified operational information over Signal to chest thump in front of your wife, who, by the way, has no security clearance, risking service member lives in the process. You blew the $1 billion fight against the Houthis, whom, again, as my colleague says, has no navy, and yet you lost all of those aircraft. You've created such a hostile command environment that no one wants to serve as your chief of staff or work with you in other senior DoD leadership roles. But what we should all be talking about more than all of this is that you have an unjustified, un-American misuse of the military in American cities, pulling resources and attention away from core missions to the detriment of the country, the war fighters, and yes, the war fighting that you claim to love. I don't know if this is because you are too inexperienced and incompetent to understand the real threats facing our country, or if it's because you are just an unqualified yes man who can't tell the president how to keep Americans safe. You are focusing on renaming basis for Confederate generals. You said just now to Senator King that to a man and to a woman, we would rather be associated with the old Confederate names. Well, I am one of those women. I served at Fort Rucker, Alabama, a base that was named for a traitor who took arms against the United States of America, led troops who killed Americans. It was renamed for Mike Novosel, a Medal of Honor recipient who, in his citation for the Medal of Honor, includes that he saved 29 American lives, to include hovering backwards in a helicopter towards an enemy bunker where a wounded American was laying and saved that person, including after being taken fire himself. I know a little something about what it takes to fly a helicopter when you've been hit by enemy fire. That was heroic. I'd rather be associated with Mike Novosel than a failed Confederate traitor.
Woohoo! Shots fired! Boom, 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 boom! Now she's raking them over the coals because they're trying to change the bases here in the United States. They're trying to change them back to the old South Confederate leaders who betrayed the U.S. Constitution, and they want to change them from the names that were changed over to real American heroes from whatever they were. I guess they were Army. I guess they were in the Army and they were heroes in the Army instead of being traitors like she mentioned. So she's dragging him over the coals because of that, dragging him over the coals because of Signalgate, dragging him over the coals because he was deeply involved in deploying and overseeing military forces during the June LA protests, right? So he tied it to federal immigration enforcement. So he did that illegally, I think. So this is what she's dragging him over the coals for. Man, she rolling on his ass. Let's go.
I don't know whether you are inexperienced or too incompetent, but I wonder when you will actually focus on our nation's warfighting mission. We know that California is just a deliberate, systematic, political, and dangerous campaign led by you. We should not be using our military to play cops against Americans. General Kane, as chairman, a key part of your job is to coordinate military planning across the joint force. Is the department currently incorporating into any military plans expanding the use of the reserve forces to include the National Guard or active duty troops to support domestic law enforcement, including in other locations in the United States?
Oh, I know they sick. She rolling out on them and she ain't paying no attention to who cares and who listening to her. She said, I don't know whether you too young or you too incompetent or whatever, but you need to stop right now because you spending too much money. Well, the problem is you got California suing you. The state sued, claiming constitutional violations, unilateral federalization of the guards without local consent, and you can't do that. He got to face tough questions. Negative 134 million, legality, whether he followed court rulings, etc. He got to face all that. He could be charged with treason or any number of things. I don't know. See, the whole point is we have concerns about domestic military use. You can't use that. You can't weaponize them against American citizens. He orchestrated and defended the deployment of National Guards and Marine forces to Los Angeles in June. He argued that the action was vital to protect federal agents during immigration-related protests. His strategy included preparing Marines, asserting broad presidential authority, minimizing legal constraints, and referencing past unrest as justification. It sparked significant legal pushback, political debate, and nationwide concern about using the military in domestic law enforcement. He gonna mess around, and that man gonna be put in jail. You're gonna be considered like you committed some kind of treason or something against the Constitution. You need to slow down and stop being a yes man. That's basically what she's saying. You are starting to be a yes man, and that man is going to get you in trouble. Get you in real trouble. You're either incompetent or you don't understand. Oof. Shots fired, Senator. Shots fired.